Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us at bit.ly/tweet talk 81, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, did you know that you could be the featured EduMatch person of the day? So right now there's a little bit of a wait, but waiting has its perks because number one, if you have a blog that we can find a link, then we will retweet your blog post as you wait. Also, if matches come up along the way, then we will tag you. And in addition, we now have an awesome table so that people can easily search the database and find others to connect with. So check that out, edumatch.org. So definitely wanted to shout out our entire panel for joining us tonight. We have a full house and we have one person who's jumping out and coming back in, so he'll be back with us. But we're just going to go ahead and introduce ourselves, starting from left going all the way to right. So Christine, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christy. I'm an educator in South Burlington, Vermont. I teach 6th grade social studies.
Awesome. Welcome, Christy. Great to have you here. And we have a returning EduMatcher, Dean, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Dean Gainey from Orlando, Florida. I teach ELA, technology, and gifted students, and so happy to be here.
Awesome. Great to have you here. Great to have you here. Next, we're going to Erica, who made her debut with us, what, 2 weeks ago?
That's right. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great. I think you are muted, so if you could please unmute.
Okay. How about now?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Oh, this is my second time. I am from Detroit, Michigan. My name is Erica, and I am a homeroom teacher. I teach grade 6 homeroom in Detroit.
Awesome. Great to have you back. So thank you for joining us. All right. And next we have Nicholas. So Nicholas, if you could please introduce yourself.
Nick Tudela from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a 8th grade math teacher currently, and really passionate about working social justice in education.
Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome to EduMatch. And we had David just jump back on. So David, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is David Tran. I am a former physical education teacher, recently now director of instruction at a charter middle school in Los Angeles.
Awesome, David. Great to have you here. And last and certainly not least, then we have our phenomenal moderator. I've been super excited for Val to be here and to moderate an episode. So she is here. So if you could please introduce yourself and then take it away.
I am so excited to be here, and I'm really excited that the panel is dominated by middle school teachers, because middle school teachers is where it's at. That's what I'm talking about. My name is Val. I'm the Strategic Partnership Manager for the University of Florida Lastinger Center, and so we're an arm of the College of Education, and nothing is more important than being able to have the conversations that matter. So I'm really excited that we have panelists here ready to talk about difficult conversations. When I asked Sarah if I could talk about it, she said absolutely. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first question for the panel: what types of difficult conversations do we regularly have to have as educators, and what makes them difficult?
This anybody jumps in, or?
I think I'll call on Nick.
So I think that we have a variety of different conversations, whether it comes to students or parents or administrators. And I think that I would say the most difficult conversations that I have are oftentimes with administrators and trying to change policies. Also parents, whenever we see students who aren't getting to where they need to be and trying to facilitate their growth. And sometimes that creates a challenge because there's a lot of different parties who have to come together in order to do what's right for a kid.
I think I think a difficult conversation that us as educators often have to have also is with other educators within our own school. I mean, having been a teacher and just this year moving into director of instruction, which in my opinion is kind of like a TOSA position, but my administration views me as like an administrator without a degree. So talking with other educators about educational practices can sometimes be very difficult. There might be a practice that isn't quite a best practice, or research has shown that it's not a practice that should be practiced anymore, and yet you have to somehow talk to this individual teacher about how to move them without offending them at the same time, and shutting down that whole conversation. So that's, to me, is a very difficult conversation that you can have with another educator.
David, you kind of alluded to the second part of that question about what makes them difficult. You talked about people shutting down. What are some other either specific things that are difficult to talk about, anyone on the panel, and what makes them difficult?
I would have to say that making sure that what we're doing is what is best for kids. I know that there are a lot of rules, policies that affect what we do and how we do it. But I believe that at the end of the day, doing what is justifiably right by the kids is often difficult, because not everybody sees things the same way. And sometimes let's say, school policies don't often agree, as I believe was alluded to already, with our perspective as educators.
Additionally, I would add that so often educators are teaching from the heart. I think our pedagogy and our philosophy is deeply personal. And so at times when you go to have those challenging conversations, and that could be about as something as seemingly simple as grading policy or homework policy, when one educator feels that homework creates rigor, another educator feels that homework is in itself unjust because some students don't have access, it can create a real challenge in terms of what do we believe philosophically is best for kids. And I think all educators are often coming through that lens of kids first and kids best, but you can hit a real wall with folks. And so I think a big part of this is just establishing relationships within your school so that you can have some of these challenging conversations.
Thank you. Oh, I think, Erica.
Can you still hear me okay? Okay, thank you. I wanted to say failing a student, especially in middle school, you have parents that, I guess at this point, we're talking about 6th, 7th, and 8th, and they just expect them to go on. And sometimes they're just not ready. Sometimes they're just not mature enough, a combination of things. And that can be a very difficult conversation to have. Socially, they see all their peers moving on. In our school, we have different shirt colors. So that means you would have to wear the same shirt color for another year. Yeah, we have different shirt colors for different grade levels. So I can't talk about it now, but it's still that I think that failing, that whole my child has to fail and my child might be failing and might not make it, that's a difficult conversation.
So in preparation for this, I've been thinking about this a lot, just the topic, and I found myself having to have a difficult conversation on Friday. And I think, and I was able to just figure this out before I had the conversation, that what made it difficult was I felt like I was being vulnerable, and I felt like I might lose something as a result of having this difficult conversation. So can we talk a little bit more about what, this conversation went well. It was only difficult once you started, and it was fine after that. But can we talk more about what might be keeping people from having these difficult conversations?
I think that sometimes, okay, I'll let you go first.
Okay. All right. So I will say that a lot of times, I know me being a younger teacher, younger educator, sometimes we have teachers that are more experienced, have been there longer than I have, and their perspectives as far as what they do and how they do it, they kind of get sort of rooted and grounded in that way. And so it's hard for me to go about trying to change that. Not that that's my intent, but just I'm more innovative. And so we don't always see things the same way. So I think that's one of the biggest things that stands in the way of having those conversations is I don't want to overstep my boundaries as a younger educator, but at the same time, I want to respect their years of experience as well, if that makes sense.
I think that I think that all makes sense. I've kind of identified a lot of things tend to basically speak to how people's identities are being attacked, or people feel like their identity might be at play in a conversation, or maybe they're feeling like they're incompetent, or their competence is being called into question, or just generally their background or experiences are on the table and are being judged. I think that getting those things out there on the table and making sure that we're sensitive to those things, that perhaps recently we had a conversation with the parents that it just seemed like she was at the same point where a lot of educators was basically things were difficult. She was having a hard time with the kid at home, and we had to reframe and kind of disarm, because she felt like, as the school constantly calling her, doing things like that, was actually attacking her identity or or her competence as a parent. So to kind of bring it back and say, we're all trying to support this student, and we're trying to do the best we can, and we want to work with you rather than against you in bringing up your daughter.
So I think I heard in both anecdotes, just not making it a personal thing, either whether
Right.
it's respecting the person's expertise or respecting how hard a parent is working. I'm looking at the time and I am just shocked, Sarah. I need 2 hours and 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna push us to another question. Can anyone speak through an anecdote, share an anecdote about a difficult conversation that you had, and what tips or things to avoid that came out as a result of having that conversation?
All right, so I'm gonna first jump with the tips, and then go into the anecdote. So some tips that has really resonated with me fairly recently, actually, is 3 parts. It's rooted in 3 things. It's listening, it's validating, and then it's redirecting. So an anecdote. If you're having a difficult conversations with someone, you're gonna have to listen to their side of the story. You have to listen to the whole thing. Let them tell you the entire story, everything, until they are done. It might take an hour, it might take 2 hours, it might take a couple days, but you have to let them air all of their grievances. And then you have to validate it. Let them know that you actually heard them. Let them know that you actually understand how they're feeling. And then from there, once they feel that you've taken the time to actually listen to them and experience what they're experiencing, then you can then try to move away and redirect and change and create that change. But until the person who you're talking to has felt that they've been heard, you're not going to be able to move forward. So an anecdote here. I have several teachers that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years. And one particular teacher who's been teaching for under 5 years, so still in the burnout area, came up to me and said, "Hey, David, I'm having issues with my students. I have 96% of them that are failing this assessment that I have." And I said, "Okay, so what are you doing to help them?" And they give me a list of all these different things that they're doing. And I said, "That's great. I'm so glad you're doing all those things. Have you thought about reteaching?" That's the one thing they didn't say, right? Have you thought about reteaching and then reassessing it? And said, "Oh, but they're just going to fail again." I go, give it a try. Give it a try. Reteach the content and then reassess them. And he did it. And he did it again. And he did it again. And he did it again. And it took him 3 to 4, maybe 5 reteaches where he finally got the students to understand the content, and he wound up, instead of 96% failing, it was 96% passing. And so for him, he came up to me, and this took weeks for him to finally come to this realization. He says, "Hey, I just want to tell you, the reteaching and reassessing, it totally works." And I'm like, "I'm glad you enjoyed it." And honestly, it was one conversation that I had with him. It was passing through a hallway while between classes that he brought this up to me and I brought him the solution, or, you know, gave him an idea for a solution. And he ran with it for a couple of weeks and then came back to me later and said, hey, it works. And so that right there is, I guess, one anecdote.
Thank you, David. Something you said early on was like a slap in the face for me. And it was thinking about how the difficult part of the conversation might be me agreeing to wholly listen to someone I disagree with. Ouch. I don't know if I'm ready. I'm working on it. It's still early in the day. Any other anecdotes? Or Sarah, do I keep going? Okay. All right. Any other anecdotes? What you got?
I'll just jump in. If you guys can hear me, still hear me okay. You never wait to the last minute to have an honest conversation. And what makes the conversation difficult is that it's honest and it's real. I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier about failing students. That's real. And it's difficult for a parent to hear, but if you don't tell them in a timely manner, you never wait till the last minute. You don't wait till May 30th and school gets out June 2nd to tell a family that their child is failing. You don't do that. That's not fair to the family. There's some things that could have taken place. You never just assume that a family does not care. We make that mistake so often, especially in the urban areas, that they just don't care. And that's not true in every case. We do have some families that do care if you're just honest and upfront with them. So that's my I guess my anecdote, if you will. I mean, just don't wait till the last minute. Be upfront, be honest, and give the family a chance to try to rectify the situation on behalf of their student.
That's spot on. And that's on Friday when I had the difficult conversation. That's all I could do. I was like, I just have to be honest and vulnerable, and what happens as a result happens. It was only making me more nervous the longer that I waited to have the conversation, like you said. So the longer we drag this out, it becomes for people to respond. Any other anecdotes?
I don't really have an anecdote, but just to speak of that, we need to go beyond blame in situations of difficult conversations. Let's just completely eliminate the fact that there is blame and just look for joint contributions, because likely both parties, or if there are multiple parties involved, have all contributed to whatever problem has come about. Whether it was, me talking to an administrator and there was miscommunication about how I was carrying out my end of the bargain, but also I was angry at them for the way that it rolled out. So there's actually some sort of joint contribution, acknowledging that I was also contributing to the problem.
To that, I would add that whenever possible, to assume good intentions. And then, as we've read in Courageous Conversations, to tend to whatever impacts have come up. So let's not ignore the impacts that can come even from best intentions, but let's try to assume that the folks around the table do have the student or curriculum or school's best interest in mind.
Fantastic. And Sarah, can you make sure you get that text on the Twitter chat, Courageous Conversations? That's what Christine mentioned there. Awesome. How do we help our students engage in these difficult conversations in our classrooms? And I think middle school is a perfect time to start this, if not earlier, where they can really start to talk and think about these difficult conversations.
Well, I will say that I'm right on the cusp of middle school. I teach 4th and 5th graders, and sometimes I feel like I'm teaching middle school. But I will tell you that sometimes all you need to do is give them the space and opportunity. I can't tell you how many times I would bring a topic up and it would be something that they would know a whole lot about, and I would be surprised with where they're coming from and how they're able to develop an argument about something or support their argument with evidence. So, and then it only takes one person to start that conversation, and then someone else in the classroom has an opportunity to respond. And so I think you have to have the opportunity. You have to say, okay, let's talk about this and let it be okay. to talk about it. Let it be a space where they feel comfortable talking about it. And I think that's a great starting point for sure.
I've used different strategies. We actually do sit down reconciliations with students where they actually sit down, and we have a format where the students both have to think about. So in the same space, if we have two students coming together over a difficult situation, and unfortunately it's usually over text, social media, or something that happened over the weekend, or so-and-so is doing this to me. And bringing both those parties together, they have to agree that they are willing to and listen to each party, and sitting them down and really trying to work through it. But we start out with the students writing to understand. So what I thought happened in this situation, or from my perspective, this is what happens. And I need you to blank in order to make this right. And that's the format that we use to get students prepared to have a difficult conversation. Then as a moderator, we sit there and basically listen to each party and making sure that we're keeping on track and making sure that the students are talking in a polite manner. And if at some point it may not be like we're going to be really great friends again, but we're going to be able to be in the same space.
Thank you. I'm reflecting back on something that was said earlier, Christine, just about a difficult conversation maybe around homework. Like one teacher believes in it, another teacher doesn't. What are some tips or things to avoid when coming to the table when you're on just complete opposite sides? Like, how do you move forward in that? If you have an anecdote, if you just want to talk through it, we understand this is everyone's best thinking right now. We're not writing it on a tablet or anything. But you know, what are, like, when you were just on opposite sides of a difficult conversation, how do we push through that?
So for me, oh, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, no, go.
I was going to say, for me, when I have to have conversations where I'm coming in knowing that we have a very strong difference of opinion, I'll usually come in wanting to listen first. I'll seek to understand. And I know not everyone does that, but me personally, I want to know why it is you think what you think. Tell me, let me understand. Because oftentimes I find, with me anyway, we're on the same page. We have the same passion. We have the same goals. Sometimes it's just different words that we're using, or outdated research that we're using, something along those lines. And so when I come into a conversation, I want to understand the other person first, and then I'm going to share the things that I know. And I might not know everything. Maybe I go into this conversation and I'm the one that's deficient in knowledge, and not knowing the newest research. So it's an opportunity for me to learn and for me to gain more knowledge.
I just wanted to add, sometimes you have to know when to just be quiet and just walk away, because you can't win every battle. And some conversations just won't have a resolution. And I think there are times when, as educators, we get really heated and really passionate about a topic, but at the same time, it's like it's draining. The fight is draining to speak your piece in certain situations. So again, you've got to know when to battle and when to retreat. And that can make the difference. And then maybe you can even go back to that person later on and say, okay, I'm ready to talk again about this specific topic. I was in a bad place that day, but if you're willing to sit down again, maybe we can try it again and come to some solution.
I definitely think that acknowledges our humanity in all of this. Like, we are going to have feelings, and I've known educators, and we're really, really passionate people. And so I think you're right, just acknowledging, like, I'm not in the position to talk about this right now, but I am, you know, when we get there, I'm willing to do that. Is there a difficult conversation that you're not having right now that you want to practice with us? From the look on everybody's faces, everybody has a difficult conversation they need to have. Like right now, I can tell. So you can just tell us the topic. You don't have to go into all the detail. You can
Maybe
just
we
give
should
us a
talk
little
about
bit.
t-shirt colors.
T-shirt colors. That might be a difficult conversation
Oh.
we need to have.
Oh, you all want to know about the t-shirt colors? That just separates 6th, 7th, and 8th. 6th
Yeah.
have the baby blue, 7th grade has a burgundy, and our 8th graders have black shirts. So it's nothing punitive. It's just the way that the uniforms are set up. Each grade from pre-K through 8th has a different color. So to all my Detroit public school teachers, it's okay. We're not suffering. We're okay. Keep praying for us, but it's okay. The t-shirt is not that big of a deal, really.
I'm with you, Erica, because our school, we have different shirt colors for each grade level too. So I feel you. It's
That's
not
right.
punitive.
All right.
It's
So,
uniform.
but are there difficult conversations that we're not having right now that we probably need to have that this will bump us into having this week?
So, okay. At my school, probably the most difficult conversation that we aren't having, or let me rephrase that, the most difficult conversation that we haven't yet started has a lot to do with the political climate that my school is currently in. Again, I teach in LA. My school is 98% Latino students. I don't know what the percentage of undocumented students are, but I can tell you that we have them because I know they exist and I know they're there. And we have several students who have not expressed to me personally, but have expressed to other individuals at the school that they're scared. And fairly recently in the LA Times and NPR both reported that there was a parent who was picked up by ICE a couple of blocks from their school while their child was in the car. Their excuse was they didn't realize the child was in the car. But irregardless, I have students who are so scared about so many different things going on right now. I've had kids literally going in, I see them in the counselor's office just crying. And there's so much level of anxiety with the number of students and parents at our school. And then on the flip side of that, we have students and parents who voted for or agree with our current president-elect. And so there's this balancing act, like I said, seek to understand before you say anything. And so trying to bring these two groups together so that they can actually have a conversation, a very difficult conversation, and being able to somehow facilitate that, because I don't know how I'm going to facilitate that. Honestly, I don't know if I'm even going to be the one to be facilitating that, but that conversation needs to be facilitated, and it needs to be facilitated sooner rather than later. So anybody here have any ideas for me? Because I would love some.
No, that was powerful. Anyone have any ideas for David?
I would say that seek identify who you need to speak to first, because it sounds like a very huge, it could be very overwhelming, because I know LA schools are quite large. So to figure out who you need to speak to make sure that this is going to happen may be the best, and then see what their interests are. What are the things that would cause them to think that having this difficult conversation would be a good idea.
Thanks a lot, Nick. LA schools do tend to be fairly large. I'm at a charter, so we have less than 500 kids. This is something that since the election, the principal, the AP, our history teachers, our counselors, and our teacher leadership committee have been talking about, and the teaching staff as a whole. Whenever we decide to roll something out, we talk about it. But and even on a larger scale, on a macro scale, our entire charter network is looking into what we can do for this. And some schools are doing more than others. Some schools have brought in like lawyers and attorneys and whatnot to talk to the parents and things like that, but we haven't gone there yet. But it's about, like, we know who, or let me rephrase that. The school as a whole knows who we need to talk to. It's now about how do we do that in a cognizant and caring way, where we're not going to put anyone out. Like, we're not trying to say, hey, those of you who supported our current president, you're all evil. That's not what I'm trying to say either, because they're not. I mean, they were the same individuals that they were before Trump was elected. And I had respect for them then, and I still have respect for them now. There's just a misunderstanding that we're having right now, or a conflict of beliefs, or whatever you want to call it. So I agree, Nick. We do need to figure out who we need to talk to and how to have that conversation. Luckily, I'm in a class right now where we have to read Courageous Conversations. So
nice.
It's something that I am going to be spending a lot of time in.
David, we've seen, like, with adults, these conversations don't work out as easily as we would hope. And so I think the most important conversation that your school needs to have is with the students, because we know they're not learning anything right now. If they're stressed out, if they're in the counselor's office crying,
yes,
and so back to what Dean said about giving them the space and time to process this and figure out how what they're learning can positively impact someone else, or, in some ways serve as an escape, from what's happening outside of school. But I think those are the voices that we need to have the difficult conversations with right now, because, as you mentioned, there's parents on both sides that have children on both sides in the school. And so giving them the time and space to talk about it, and hopefully the adults can learn something from them.
I'd like to add to that too. I think it's important to identify the fact that this conversation may be ongoing, and it may be necessary for students to have conversations in a variety of ways. Maybe orally, they'll talk, they'll write and talk about it, they'll blog and talk about it. I just feel like it's so important that whatever the medium is, that not only the students, but the teachers, the parents, we get it out. And I think we'd be surprised at the results of not only allowing them the time and the space and the opportunity to do it, modeling how to have an appropriate conversation, and when you disagree with someone, how to disagree with them, and how to hear and see all sides of a situation before you make a formal response to it. But I do believe that it's not a conversation you can have in 20 minutes and it be over. It may just be that we have to continue to facilitate discussions like this, and ultimately the goal would be to make it better in the long run.
David, I'm wondering what your school could do, perhaps not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, to make it clear that it's a safe space. Is it about having folks in from your local ACLU chapter, training folks on what their rights are, and making sure that families understand that even in this climate, they do have basic civil rights? And I recognize that that might be a discussion that within the confines of a classroom could feel really political and could potentially isolate those families who have supported our current president. But perhaps if that's being held after school through the ACLU, at least folks in your community could see that this school is a safe place for our kids, and believe that when they go to bring their kids to school, no, we're not going to ask you about your status, and that both the educators in the building and also that there are folks in the community who are there to support them.
That is an awesome idea. I am totally going to bring that up in my leadership meeting. I think I have one tomorrow. So yeah, I'll bring that up to them. I think that's a great idea.
David,
go ahead.
Oh, I was sitting here listening to everything, and I wish I could give David and his entire school district a hug, because in Detroit, our battles oftentimes deal with attendance and reading and low data. But I'm listening to what you're saying about LA, and there's another fight. That's a heavy fight whether or not I'm going to be taken away out of this country. And I don't know what to say, but offer my prayers and a hug from Detroit. And you're my colleague. You're on the other side of the country over there, but you're my colleague. And I'm just sending love to you all, because that's heavy. That's heavy. Really heavy.
This feels for me mildly therapeutic. I've been wanting to talk about these things, and if you follow me at all on Twitter, you know I just like to talk about things. It helps process kind of what's going on. And so I would count these as difficult conversations for us. Like, how do we as educators deal with things that are going on outside of school that affect our students, whether it's political or related to police violence or just whatever? Like, how do we as the people who have to serve and be strong for students continue to support them and get support ourselves, and when we're not quite sure where to go either? What else are you all thinking right now?
I think that this world would actually be a little bit better place if we could all kind of learn how to engage in difficult conversations, and we start thinking about the practice of doing and engaging in difficult conversations and approaching each other. And I think it's something that's going to only be more and more important as we move into the future. So if it's something that we're leaving out of the classroom and we're not teaching the students, then we're failing, because we truly need to teach students to be able to engage in difficult conversations, because that's ultimately what's going to change the future. The more volatile the world gets, the more important basic communication skills are.
Yeah, I know that it may not be a thing that we do often, as far as sharing our viewpoints and what we feel with students, but I think it puts us in a vulnerable position too. And I think sort of showing that vulnerability is helpful to students, and then you can come right behind that and reassure them and give them that support, give them that teacher-like love that they need to keep going, even though they don't understand everything. Because I'll be the first to say, it doesn't all make sense to me sometimes. But I think knowing that it may not necessarily all make sense to me is a point of connection, is a point of reality for them that we can move forward together. It may not be easy. It may be very difficult to swallow, but the fact that we can go together makes it an easier burden to bear.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you go there.
I was just gonna say, to echo that sentiment, this conversation, the fact that we can have this conversation and all of us are literally at home, it looks like everyone's at home anyway, all across the nation, is a testament to how powerful social media has become as a driving factor in creating change, in having difficult conversations, in just having conversations at all. And this will allow us to push through. This will allow us to persevere. If you look at so many Middle Eastern countries or Arab countries that have during the Arab Spring, it was social media that allowed them to do so much of that change. And this is America's spring now. So it's our turn to start pushing for change and not allowing people just to brush these topics and these ideas and these conversations under the rug, and we're not going to be silenced. That's basically what I'm going to say. We're not going to be silenced. We're going to be able to get together, whether virtually or in person. I look forward to the day where I can meet all of you in person, because this is so powerful, so powerful.
I just wanted to add, back during the presidential inauguration, and then some months or weeks or so after that, my students generated a lot of questions about the wall. And one thing I know about many of the students in Detroit, they come from large households where everyone's fighting to be heard. So a lot of them don't know how to have a conversation. But when they do generate questions, and they have a lot of questions about the world, we just stop everything and we just have a family style talk, because in a lot of cases, and I thank God that I'm knowledgeable on some things, and if I'm not, I'll just stop and Google it and pray that the search engine has it right. But I'm glad that I'm flexible enough, close the door, make sure the admin isn't walking down the hallway, and we just stop and we have those discussions, because a lot of our students are just hungry. They're hungry for knowledge, and they don't know where to get it, and they love to talk. They love to just let it out sometime, but it has to start. I know for us, I believe in Detroit, it needs to start in kindergarten, having those family style conversations, because a lot of them are not getting that at home.
I'm really moved by this group, and you all are amazing. Like, thanks for signing up. Who does that? You didn't know what was going to happen today. So thanks for signing up to being on the panel. What work do we have to do on Monday? What work do we have to do tomorrow, either with our colleagues or with our students? Where do we go now?
Interesting that you asked that question, Valerie. I think we have to make a decision that, and I mean, obviously everybody's here. We've already made it. But I just think that it has to start with us, you know, whatever those things are that we need to do, it has to start with us. And I don't know why it just kind of hit me, but this song came to my mind while you guys were talking, and I don't even know if it's appropriate to sing on a tweet and talk. But oh my gosh, it is an inspirational song. So and I know you've probably heard it before. I won't sing the whole thing, but let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, and brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Woo! Yes! Sarah, I'm just saying. I don't know how you gonna top this. I don't know how you gonna top this edge match. I don't know how you gonna do it. Like, I don't know how you gonna top it. Yes. That's it. I don't think we have anything else to say. Amen. All right. Woo!
Oh my goodness.
Man.
Wow. That was, oh my gosh. That conversation, I was typing a tweet right now. I can't even finish it because like I was just like, this is exactly the conversation that I've been like dying to have for months. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you all so much for your insights, for your positivity, for your spirit, for everything that you brought tonight. Really appreciate that. And a special shout out to Val for coming up with this amazing topic and doing just a phenomenal job moderating. So open invite to anyone here on panel to come back, and you know, definitely would love to have any/all of you back at any time. So trying to kind of keep myself composed to close us out for tonight. But again, wanted to thank all of you. Wanted to thank everyone who was participating with us via Twitter or via YouTube Live in the comments section. Wanted to thank everyone who's going to watch this later or watch the hashtag and jump in with their insights. I'm seeing a lot of powerful comments on Twitter as well. So just wow, I'm blown away right now. So the Twitter chat will be put out as a transcript in the next 4 or 5 minutes, and this will be available as an iTunes podcast. Generally, it takes a few weeks, but I think I'm going to actually fast track this one and do it tonight because I think that it's very timely and it needs to go out. So this one's going to be a little out of sequence, but look for that to drop before tomorrow. So number 81 will come before number 52. So, but definitely wanted to give a shout out. So next week, we're going to be talking about data and authentic learning and the interplay between the two. So we're going to have moderator Shelly Stout. She's going to be moderating the Twitter side of things and possibly the video side, but definitely watch out for her on the Twitter side. And anyone can be a panelist. So just sign up at tinyurl.com/EduMatch sign up, and subscribe at bit.ly/EduMatch podcast. So hope everyone has a great week. Looking forward to speaking with everyone next week. So thank you all again.